Today I'm showing you two ways that you can build forms and surveys inside of ChatGPT. The first method is by using GPT Agent and having it build a Google form for you, which is a bit slow but pretty amazing. And the second method is using a custom GPT called Weavely, which builds similar forms and surveys but a lot faster, also within ChatGPT. So let's get started with the first slow method, the agent method. We're going to keep it very simple, so create me a contact form in Google Forms. What it's going to do then is the agent is going to, or should at least, navigate to Google Forms, then try to log in. That's the point where we probably have to take over and provide our credentials, otherwise things would be very scary. And then afterwards, if all goes well, it will figure out the Google Forms interface and build the contact form for us. So as you can see, it's figured out that it needs to go to Google Forms. It's going to try to sign in. I'm going to speed up this bit because sometimes Agent takes a while to sort of load the right pages, find the right URLs, and actually have you sign in. And then we'll come back when we need to take control. Okay, so it took like 5 different roads to actually get here, as you saw in the speed up, but it managed to bring us to the sign-in page, which is the point that we have to take over. So when you press login or take over, you're going to be able to have access to the actual session that ChatGPT started for you and provide your credentials, which is what we're going to do right now. So give in my email address and my password. Okay, so once past the 2-step verification, it's going to finish the sign-in and we can actually give it back control and it should start building. Okay, so as you can see, it's figuring out the Google account interface, which is not the easiest way to get started building your Google form, but it managed to figure out that it needed to go to the app grid and click the Google Forms page. So it's going to wait until the Google Forms page loads, and let's then see if it manages to figure out the Google Forms interface and start building. So once on the Google Forms main page, it figured out it needs to hit the big plus button, which is obvious to us as a human, but it's pretty cool to see an AI figure out that it needs to do that in order to sort of get started. And I guess the rest is going to be easier because it's Google Forms, so the interface is pretty minimal and pretty easy. So it started building, it's adding text to the header, and I guess at some point it's going to add the questions that we need to ask, namely the first name, the last name, and the email address. Let's see whether it figures that out. So it does, and it's actually even going to change the type of the question because the default question, I guess, is a multiple choice. And it figured out that multiple choice is not the best way to ask for somebody's name. So I'm going to skip forward and move this bit ahead a bit faster because it is taking a while for ChatGPT to figure out the interface. So I'll fast forward this bit and we'll see each other when the end result is there. Okay, so we're as good as done. It worked for a good 7 minutes and it's asked us whether it should click publish to finalize. So it's sort of strange that it's asking me to do that because it did everything so far on its own. But so let's ask it to hit the publish button and we'll be able to see the final result and see whether it actually works and it builds a real functioning contact form. Okay, so we might think this is it. This is the link to our Google Forms, but actually it isn't. So if I click on it and I open the link, it tells me that the file doesn't exist. And that's because ChatGPT gave me the preview link and not the published link. So again, I'll try to ask it to give me the published link and we'll come back and see if it works. Okay, so again, it messed up and it gave me the wrong link. So we'll try a second method. We're actually going to check whether in my Google Forms, so just going to forms.google.com, whether we can find the form. So this is the form that we've just created with ChatGPT Agent. So as you can see, it's exactly the same form. And of course, yeah, it's already been published, so we can get the responder link, which is the thing that ChatGPT didn't seem to be able to do. So when I enter that, it actually works. So as you can see, it takes a while, so it takes a good 10 minutes. There's quite some bugs in it, but it's still pretty cool, right? So you have an agent building you a Google form by actually navigating to your account, signing you in, well, that's your part, and then building the form. So it's cool, but it's pretty slow, which brings us to the second method, and that's using a custom GPT. So if you look at the GPT sections, there's a GPT called Weavely Forms and Surveys, which allows you to build, well, forms and surveys inside of ChatGPT, but orders of magnitude faster than with the agents. So let's say create me a contact form. We're going to keep it very boring in this tutorial, but that way we have a way of comparing both. This is just regular GPT, so it's going to come up with a number of fields as an example for a contact form, which is fine. This is fine, just build. And what it's going to do is it's going to talk to the API of Weavely.ai, which is an AI-powered form builder. So for all intents and purposes, this is the same sort of flow as we use the agent for, but as you can see, it's just so much faster. So contact form link is here. I can click on that. We have our contact form inside of this Weavely tool. So name, address, that sort of stuff. We have an ending page. And then when I hit the publish button, I get my URL and I can enter that into my browser and I have my form. So these are the two ways of building forms and surveys inside of ChatGPT. You can use the agent modes, which is pretty slow. It's more of a gimmick for the moment until it gets faster and better. Or you can use a custom GPT like Weavely forms and surveys, which is just a lot faster to actually get you to that form and start collecting responses, because that's the end goal, right?